Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we've got a really special one for you. We're going to be joined by the CEO of TeraWulf. This is a Bitcoin mining company based in the United States. It's one of my top picks for the sector, and I'm personally holding this stock and have been adding shares over the last couple of weeks. Now I'm really excited about the Bitcoin space in general, moving into next year's halving event, and I think TeraWulf is a great way to get exposure to this sector, especially if you're looking for some of the big up-and-comers in terms of hash rate over the next couple of months. Now with that being said, we've got a lot to go through, so before we get into it, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join. And let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of TeraWulf, how you think they stack up to some of the other miners in this space, and what your thoughts are about their growth strategy moving into the next couple of quarters. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so thanks so much for joining us today. We've got a special guest for you, Paul Prager. He's the CEO of TeraWulf. We've had a member of this team on previously. This is a company I'm really excited about over the next couple of quarters. Paul, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Perfect. So we'll get right into it here today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired the creation of TeraWulf?
Sure. Paul Prager, I think I'm probably one of the old guys in crypto. I've been a power plant developer, owner, and operator for the last 35 years.
Okay.
By the way, 20 of those with the same team that are now at TeraWulf.
Okay.
And we would typically look for the right load and demand for our power plants. And as the market changed in power, we saw an opportunity to convert our energy, which really can't store, into something very valuable that you can transport, and that was Bitcoin.
Okay.
And so that's how we got into the business. It was pretty much led by my co-founder, who I think is a real visionary, Nazar Khan. But we developed, as you know, we developed Marathon's, first crypto center at one of my old power plant sites. And ultimately decided that, we liked the idea of running a business on our own, and we also wanted to do something in the zero carbon world.
Perfect.
In terms of me, I'm a Naval Academy graduate, big supporter of the Navy. My son actually just graduated the Academy and is serving with the Navy over in Japan. I think we're very, very focused here on a chain of command structure, zero carbon energy, being the low cost provider. And so that's how I think about the space and how I can sort of impart my experience to the space.
Sure, makes sense. And congrats to your son, first and foremost. We've actually had Nazar on the channel as well. He's the CTO at TeraWulf, so I would encourage you guys to go back, take a look at that video as well if you'd like more context. Paul, thanks for the background there. The next question, kind of a follow-up to that. What would you say kind of differentiates TeraWulf, and can you give us a little bit of a high-level summary of the company and your current operations?
Sure. I guess, first of all, I would tell you we have an extraordinary team. I mean, we have a team of energy professionals and finance professionals that have been together for a very, very long time. We have 15 people that are executives of this company, been with us for at least, 10 or 12 years.
Okay.
I would tell you that 5 of our top 7 execs are women. And they've been with the company again for over 10 years. I think that's a very important point because I think in the future, people will worry about Bitcoin and think about it from a regulatory and ESG perspective. And while I think Bitcoin will always trade as one value, I think there's the right way to do it. I think that we have a lot of experience, therefore, in designing, building, operating power plants. And ultimately, that's what Bitcoin's all about, low-cost energy of a consistent quality. We have decades of experience in energy supply optimization, operations engineering. We're, again, vertically integrated. So when we have an issue at one of our sites, it's our people that are going out to fix our gear, our equipment. So you're not as vulnerable to the volatility of somebody else's operation and their costs. when you think about, a crypto mining facility. I think we're all about location. It's true. We have two great sites, 50 and 110 megawatts now, that are both very scalable, 91% zero carbon. And I think that not all Bitcoin mining centers are created equal, and I think if I would invite you to visit one of our sites, maybe get a hold of Gary and Naz and get up to one of our sites. It'd be great to have you there.
Would love to, yeah.
But I think you'll look at, you'll see these are two of the best facilities in the country.
Okay, and it's interesting you refer back to the people so much, not only the tenure, but just the demographic and the mix of people, because if you look at a lot of the biggest falters in the crypto space, it's not the coin or the technology or the blockchain, it's actually the people behind those companies, right? So I think that's a crucial piece here, Paul, and I appreciate you spending some time on that.
Now, let me just interrupt, and take a little further into that, do a deep dive. Nazar was at Evercore, prior to joining us, and he and I have been together over 20 years, right? And when you're in the power business, you would typically find power assets with single point, customers like a utility or a sovereign or municipality.
Yeah.
You would finance those with institutions. So it's an institutional financing skill set that we bring to the table. And you'd have long-term fuel procurement, so that we weren't exposed, if you will, to the volatility, as a lot of the miners were, just last year in Texas because of gas price volatility.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think that what we have on our team is we have that institutional finance skill set. We have a group of people that have been together for a very long time. So when markets go up and down, this is not our first rodeo. We've been here before. We can manage it. But more importantly, we can control our own destiny because we own our sites. So I think the people are critical, and they drive your ability to get best terms, whether it's procurement or financing, right?
Yeah.
And also, I think they're the ones that demand, since they have to live with the gear, we want to build the very best sites we can, so we don't cut corners, hence Nautilus and Lake Mariner.
Great, and honestly, a perfect segue, Paul, to the next question, which is, can you give us an update on the Nautilus facility and the construction at Lake Mariner? Obviously, this is just as important as the people, or the sites and the locations here. So I'd be curious to kind of get an update on the activity there.
I mean, we have 50 megawatts of zero carbon at Nautilus in full ramp. We're very close to completing that.
Okay.
Construction continues at Lake Mariner. I would imagine that we'll have another 50 megawatts online in a matter of a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Once Nautilus is fully ramped, and then we have our second building at Lake Mariner energized, our total hash rate will be 5.5 exahash. So that's pretty significant.
For sure. And what is that? And that was kind of going to be the next question. You're starting to ramp up. This is an aggressive grower in the Bitcoin mining space. You're getting up close to 5.5 exahash per second. What is that going to mean for the company as we're starting to see Bitcoin hash rate difficulty, more miners coming online? We've got the halving event next year. What does this increase in hash rate enable you guys to do?
100 Bitcoin a month.
Okay.
That's real.
Nice.
And, our goal is to simply create value for the shareholders. We talked about the people earlier. I would tell you that we're unique in TeraWulf because our team owns the stock. So, we are using our Bitcoin to fund operations if we need to fund growth if we choose to make strategic acquisitions if we find ones that are appropriate and consistent with our investment thesis. But most of all, our goal is to create value for shareholders. Again, on our squad, insiders, management own over 50% of the company.
Yeah, that's
so we're
impressive.
Not wedded to any, strategy. We don't want to create some ideological sort of statement out there beyond. We want to create value for the shareholders. We are completely aligned. I just bought stock last week. I have continued to buy stock throughout, what has been a difficult period for Bitcoin, because I believe in Bitcoin and I believe in TeraWulf's ability to be the winner here, with the low cost, zero carbon folks. So 5.5 exahash means 400 Bitcoin a month.
Great. And I wanted to talk to you about that personal investment you made. So I'm going to come back to that. But one other question we had from viewers last time was, with the increasing hash rate, the increasing monthly production, what does that mean for your HODL strategy or your reserve over the next few quarters as well?
As I just mentioned, so our CFO, Patrick Fleury, is brilliant, came to us. He was a Blackstone GSO guy. He restructured a debt, pushed it way out, got us to a cash sweep. So we're not having to make some fixed payment at all.
Okay.
We're properly levered and our balance sheet is sized right now. But it enables us to pay down our debt, fund completion of our ramp, and ultimately not have a requirement. We just don't want to dilute our shareholders. And we're not going to HODL, just so we could say, we're HODLing, but then we're diluting the heck out of our shareholders. Like, we think there are others out there that do that.
Yeah.
We're just not going to do that. So, we think about this on a day-to-day in a very strategic way. And ultimately, I think it will be the fact that we can produce more Bitcoin than anybody else at the lowest cost in a zero carbon way. That's how we get to the finish line first.
Gotcha. Okay. And the next question, kind of related to that, and I know you've hit on a few of these points, but the share price moves we've seen over the last month with TeraWulf, ticker WULF, Wulf, are really quite impressive. We've seen your share price over double in the last 30 days, Paul. So outside of the underlying move we've seen in the price of Bitcoin, which is kind of a rising tide lifts all ships, as they say, why do you think people in this space are specifically attracted to TeraWulf over some of the other options?
So, as like the worst thing in the world for CEO to do is talk about stock price. I won't go there, but
Okay.
I will talk about value.
Okay.
Up until the first quarter this year, we were pretty much a show me story. We have a very different thesis than anybody else out there. We are vertically integrated. We build, own, and operate our own stuff. And when I say our, I mean the shareholders.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not that host model where you're vulnerable to the utility, wants to go up and down in price, or they want you to shut in, or now, like you see in Texas, we're not going to give you curtailment payments, and we're not vulnerable to some third-party operator of plants. We control our destiny. So I would tell you that we were a show me story because we were late to start up because we were building out our facilities when everyone else was hosting and paying their toll and just mining.
Makes sense.
So we're not a show me story anymore. We're up and operating, and we're weeks away, as I mentioned, from 5.5 exahash, which is a killer we're 2-cent power at Nautilus. So it's pretty mind blowing. And Lake Mariner's no slouch either. We've had very low power prices there for the past month and a half or so. And once we have building 2 online, we're going to have a blended rate somewhere around 3.5 cents. So I think that's very, very compelling. And I think that, people are starting to see that. That's why we're getting a different investor in the group. I think there's another reason why, or at least I'd like to hope so.
Okay.
Early on, we were very focused on the zero carbon element as a operational excellence and value tag for TeraWulf.
Yeah.
The market didn't see that, and why? Because when Bitcoin was in difficulty, people just, they focus really on the Bitcoin price and not on some of the nuances that go to the credit of the company that's mining the Bitcoin.
Sure.
But I believe that, we're going to see regulation, and I entirely welcome that. Okay. I think it'll be great for Bitcoin. And I think some of the low-hanging fruit regulation is going to be to focus on energy consumption and what kind of energy.
Okay.
So I think being a zero carbon miner is going to mean that people are going to like us a lot and will come to us because there's less regulatory risk associated. And I think we're seeing some of those people buy our stock today.
Sure.
The second thing is, I think that, when you have a nuke and you have hydro, you have a certain level of operational efficiency that you don't have when you're taking power from a third party who's running, a coal plant or a gas facility, and gas spikes are up and down. So I believe from an operational perspective, we're just a much cleaner shop. And so I think investors are also buying into that. Lastly, I think investors know that not everybody's going to be around. As we go into the halving, you're going to have the more marginal miners with higher energy costs. They're going to have to capitulate. So I think people are also betting on a team right now. And again, Patrick Fleury, Nazar Khan, Kerry Langlis, Stephanie Fleischman at GC, we've been together 10, 15 years in the energy infrastructure space, partnering with real shops like Evercore and Blackstone and First Reserve and Energy Spectrum. So we have a real degree of experience that will enable us when it comes time for the right acquisitions or consolidation. We'll be the folks that end up on the right side of that.
Gotcha. Yeah, it really is quite a compelling story. I've spent a lot of time researching, talking to members of your team and looking at other Bitcoin miners. And I think there's a lot of things that are really coming together for this story and for this company. So great answer, Paul, and thanks for tying it all together. And you touched on the halving event slated for 2024. I'm curious, what are your thoughts or your key priorities going into that event? And do you think that represents a concern or an opportunity for TeraWulf specifically?
I think it's an opportunity. Listen, going into the halvings, you've seen price appreciation. So I don't see why that wouldn't continue. But I think also you'll see once the rewards cut in half, it's more difficult for inefficient miners. And we've seen this in the power space, right? We've seen power plants that were once efficient become inefficient, go to the shoulder, become peakers, get retired. So, we understand what's happening in terms of Bitcoin mining when it becomes, on the margin, less valuable, and those folks go away. So I think, we're coming into the space, low cost, zero carbon, we'll get bigger market share, and we would expect price appreciation. In terms of what do? We manage our fleet. We continue to, grow our fleet. Our two sites are very scalable. Certainly another 50 megawatts at Nautilus, and we're really scalable. Elliott Mariner, the site was once an 800 megawatt facility. So wow. We could really blow this thing up into something spectacular. But again, we're going to be thoughtful. We're going to be considered. We're going to manage our debt. And I think one of the big things going into having that we'd like to do is pay down our debt.
Gotcha. Okay, great. And the final question before we tie things up here, Paul, you mentioned this a little bit earlier. So not only are you obviously putting a lot of your time and energy into this company, but also your personal capital. I know you've recently purchased shares off the open market. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Management is invested. Forget founders' equity. I'm talking about management's actually put cash out the door to the tune of over $12 million in the past year. In addition to that, I was through another one of my vehicles, a material lender to the company, with a passive lender. So just put the capital in and ended up with the terms that the syndicate ended up with. So I obviously believe in this thing a great deal, and it's because I believe in Bitcoin as an asset class. Mm-hmm. I believe that regulation will just make us that much more credible to the world and will really pop. And I believe TeraWulf does it right. I could have stayed mining, being a host to a number of other miners. We had many offers. And we opted out. We opted out to start our company, terrible timing, by the way, top of the market, and then suffer through all that. And so I really believe in TeraWulf's ability to win because we're the low-cost, zero-carbon approach. We're the most professional, we're a collective of professionals that have seen this cycle in the power and energy space for the last, 25 plus years. And we've seen it together for at least, 10, 15 years. So we're ready to react and we're poised to sort of make a success of TeraWulf. I will continue to buy. And I think there's massive value in the company where we're trading today. And clearly when we're at 5.5x hash, take a look at what the comps are and how people value. I think we're just we're super value oriented opportunity for investors right now, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, as a retail investor, that like you follow the money, right? And as the saying goes, there's a lot of reasons to sell a stock. There's only one to buy it. So when I'm seeing guys like you investing in your own company, that really speaks volumes to me in my position as a retail investor. So that's good to see. And I would definitely agree that this is really just the beginning. And although maybe the timing for starting the company wasn't ideal, it definitely makes a lean company right out of the gate rather than having to shore up down the road. So again, Paul, that's awesome context. I'll leave a link to the company website in the video description below as well if you guys want to go in, take a look at their deck or any additional information on their sites. Paul, any closing thoughts or final words for the audience here today?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to meet and talk about TeraWulf. My goal for the coming year is execute, drive our costs down at every level, whether it's, public company costs, SG&A, drive the costs down, be the low cost, zero carbon miner in the space. One other thing I would tell you that I think we're really different about is our reporting. I'd like people to sort of buy into our standard of transparency. Take a look at our decks, take a look at our financial reporting, and make everybody in the space live up to the standard that Patrick Fleury's putting out there, as our banner for transparency and financial reporting.
Sure.
Beyond that, grateful for your time. I hope people can follow me at Paul Prager at Twitter or TeraWulf at Twitter. And, I look forward to continued growth for the company, and happy to get on the show again and talk to you whenever you want.
Most definitely. Yeah, we'll have you guys back. We can also link the Twitter handles there when we post it on our Twitter account, Paul. For everyone still watching, we really appreciate your time today. If you're still watching at this point, hopefully you found some value, so make sure you hit the like button, you guys. If you're not part of the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to join. That's all for now. If we weren't able to get to any of your questions, leave them in the comment section below. Next time we have Paul or Nazar on, we can get those questions filed in for you. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.